The 2024 U.S. presidential election pits two figures with starkly different visions for America against each other. Former President Donald Trump, the Republican nominee, seeks a return to the White House. He promises to restore what he sees as the nation's lost greatness. Vice President Kamala Harris, the Democratic nominee, represents a continuation of the Biden administration's policies. She aims to build a more equitable and just society. The nation they inherit is deeply divided. Political polarization has reached fever pitch. Social and economic anxieties run high. The COVID-19 pandemic's lingering effects continue to be felt. Trump and Harris offer radically different approaches to these challenges. Their potential presidencies present two drastically different paths for America. This election will be a referendum on the direction of the country. It will determine the nation's course on issues ranging from healthcare and climate change to immigration and race relations. The stakes could not be higher for the American people. This election cycle promises to be one of the most consequential in American history. It is a battle for the soul of the nation. On domestic policy, the chasm between Trump and Harris is vast. Trump champions a populist agenda. He focuses on issues like immigration and trade. He wants to reduce regulations and taxes. He aims to appeal to his base of working-class white voters. Harris, in contrast, promotes a progressive platform. She emphasizes social justice and economic equality. She supports expanding access to healthcare and education. She wants to address climate change. She seeks to mobilize a diverse coalition of voters. Trump's approach is rooted in nationalism and economic protectionism. He wants to put America first by withdrawing from international agreements and imposing tariffs on goods from China and other countries. He aims to limit both legal and illegal immigration. He sees these policies as a way to restore American jobs and manufacturing. Harris, on the other hand, advocates for a more globalist and inclusive approach. She supports free trade agreements and international cooperation. She believes in a pathway to citizenship for undocumented immigrants. She views immigration as a source of strength for the nation. She argues that her policies would benefit all Americans, not just a select few. These contrasting visions reflect the deep ideological divide in American politics today. The 2024 election will determine which approach prevails. Just as their domestic policies diverge, so too do Trump and Harris's approaches to foreign policy. Trump espouses a transactional and often isolationist worldview. He questions the value of traditional alliances. He prefers bilateral deals to multilateral agreements. He relies on military strength and economic pressure to achieve his goals. Harris, in line with the Biden administration's approach, advocates for a more cooperative and diplomacy-focused foreign policy. She believes in strengthening alliances. She sees diplomacy and multilateralism as essential tools for addressing global challenges like climate change and nuclear proliferation. Trump's foreign policy is often unpredictable and driven by his personal relationships with foreign leaders. He has alienated some allies with his rhetoric and actions. His approach has been criticized for undermining global stability and American leadership. Harris, on the other hand, represents a return to a more traditional and predictable foreign policy. She emphasizes working with allies and partners to address shared challenges. Her approach is likely to be welcomed by many in the international community. The 2024 election will have significant implications for America's standing in the world and its ability to address global challenges. The economy is always a central issue in presidential elections, and 2024 is no exception. Trump and Harris offer starkly different economic visions. Trump focuses on boosting economic growth through tax cuts, deregulation, and protectionist trade policies. He argues that his policies will benefit all Americans by creating jobs and increasing wages. Harris, in contrast, prioritizes economic equity and reducing income inequality. She supports raising the minimum wage, expanding access to affordable health care, and investing in education and job training. She argues that her policies will create a fairer economy that works for everyone, not just the wealthy. Trump's economic policies have been credited with boosting economic growth in the short term. However, they have also led to increased income inequality and a ballooning federal deficit. His trade wars have hurt some American businesses and consumers. Harris's economic policies are focused on the long term. She believes that investing in people and creating a fairer economy will lead to sustainable economic growth. Her critics argue that her policies will stifle economic growth and lead to job losses. The 2024 election will determine which economic vision prevails and what the consequences will be for the American people. Section 5. Social fabric navigating change and division. Beyond the economy, the 2024 election will also be a referendum on America's social fabric. Trump's presidency was marked by racial tensions, cultural clashes, and a rise in white nationalism. He often inflamed these divisions with his rhetoric and policies. Harris, in contrast, represents a more diverse and inclusive vision of America. She is the first woman, the first black person, and the first Asian American to be elected vice president. She has spoken out against racism, sexism, and other forms of discrimination. Trump's supporters see him as a defender of traditional American values. They believe that he is not afraid to speak his mind and challenge political correctness. They support his policies on immigration, law and order, and religious freedom. Harris's supporters see her as a symbol of progress and hope. They believe that she will fight for the rights of all Americans, regardless of their race, religion, gender, or sexual orientation. They support her policies on healthcare, education, and climate change. The 2024 election will determine whether America continues down a path of division and polarization or embraces a more inclusive and equitable future. Section 6. Trump's vision, nationalism, and populism. Donald Trump's vision for America is rooted in nationalism and populism. He believes that America has lost its way and needs to be made great again. He promises to restore American jobs, rebuild the military, and put America first in all things. His supporters are drawn to his message of economic anxiety, cultural grievance, and a longing for a return to a bygone era. Trump's vision is often at odds with the values of pluralism and tolerance that have long been seen as central to the American identity. His rhetoric and policies have alienated many Americans, particularly people of color, immigrants, and religious minorities. His critics accuse him of being a demagogue who exploits fear and division for political gain. Despite the controversy surrounding his presidency, Trump remains a popular figure among his base of supporters. They appreciate his willingness to challenge the status quo and his disdain for political correctness. They see him as a strong leader who is not afraid to fight for what he believes in, even if it means breaking the rules. Trump's vision for America is a stark departure from the past. Whether he can convince a majority of Americans to embrace his vision remains to be seen. Section 7. Harris's vision, progress, and inclusivity. Kamala Harris's vision for America stands in stark contrast to that of Donald Trump. She represents a more progressive and inclusive vision of the country, one that embraces diversity, equality, and opportunity for all. Her supporters are drawn to her message of hope, unity, and a belief in the promise of America. Harris's vision is rooted in the belief that America is at its best when it lives up to its ideals of equality and justice for all. She believes that the country must confront its history of racism, sexism, and other forms of discrimination in order to move forward. She supports policies that promote social and economic justice, such as affordable health care, quality education, and a living wage. Harris's critics argue that her vision is too idealistic and out of touch with the realities of governing. They accuse her of being a radical leftist who is more interested in promoting a progressive agenda than in representing the interests of all Americans. Despite the criticism, Harris remains a popular figure among Democrats and many independents. They see her as a capable and experienced leader who is ready to tackle the challenges facing the country. They believe that she has the vision and the skills to unite a divided nation and lead America into a brighter future. Harris's vision for America is one of progress and inclusivity. Whether she can convince a majority of Americans to embrace her vision remains to be seen. Section 8. Justice and the Courts, a legacy defined. The 2024 election will have a profound impact on the future of the American justice system. Trump's presidency was marked by a conservative shift in the courts, with the appointment of 3 Supreme Court justices and numerous federal judges. These appointments have already had a significant impact on issues such as abortion, gun control, and voting rights. Harris, if elected, would likely appoint judges who are more liberal and who would be more likely to uphold abortion rights, expand voting rights, and rule in favor of environmental regulations. She has been critical of Trump's judicial appointments, arguing that they are out of step with the values of most Americans. The balance of the Supreme Court and the lower courts will have a lasting impact on American society for decades to come. The 2024 election will determine whether the courts continue to move in a conservative direction or whether there is a course correction towards a more liberal approach. The future of justice in America hangs in the balance. The 2024 election will determine the course of the judiciary for generations to come. Section 9. The global landscape, challenges, and opportunities. The 2024 election will take place against the backdrop of a rapidly changing world. The rise of China, the threat of climate change, and the proliferation of nuclear weapons pose serious challenges to American interests and global stability. Trump's foreign policy was characterized by a unilateralist approach and a skepticism of international institutions. He withdrew the United States from the Paris Climate Agreement, the Iran nuclear deal, and the World Health Organization. He also imposed tariffs on goods from China and other countries. Harris, in contrast, is expected to pursue a more multilateralist foreign policy. She has pledged to rejoin the Paris Climate Agreement and to work with allies to address global challenges. She is also likely to take a tougher stance on China than Trump did. The next president will face a daunting array of foreign policy challenges. The 2024 election will determine how the United States navigates these challenges and whether it can maintain its position as a global leader. The world is watching. The 2024 election will have profound implications for global peace and security. Section 10. The stakes, a pivotal election. The 2024 U.S. presidential election is shaping up to be one of the most consequential in American history. The stakes could not be higher. The outcome of the election will determine the direction of the country on a wide range of issues, from the economy and healthcare to climate change and social justice. It will also have a profound impact on America's standing in the world and its ability to address global challenges. The choice facing American voters is stark. Donald Trump offers a vision of America rooted in nationalism, populism, and a rejection of the status quo. Kamala Harris offers a more progressive and inclusive vision, one that embraces diversity, equality, and opportunity for all. The 2024 election is a battle for the soul of America. It is a fight for the future of the country. The decision rests in the hands of the American people. The future is uncertain, but one thing is clear. The 2024 election will have a profound impact on the course of American history. Section 11. Charting the Future, Two Paths for America. As the 2024 U.S. presidential election approaches, the nation stands at a crossroads. Two distinct paths lie ahead, each offering a different vision for the future of the country. The choice between these paths, between Donald Trump and Kamala Harris, will have far-reaching consequences for generations to come. Trump's path promises a return to a bygone era, one where America stood alone, unburdened by global alliances or commitments. It is a path paved with nostalgia, resentment, and a yearning for a simpler time. It is a path that appeals to those who feel left behind by globalization, cultural change, and the perceived erosion of traditional values. Harris's path, in contrast, leads towards a more interconnected and equitable future. It is a path that embraces diversity, innovation, and a commitment to solving global challenges through cooperation and diplomacy. It is a path that appeals to those who believe in the promise of America as a beacon of hope and opportunity for all. The 2024 election is a referendum on these two competing visions. It is a choice between retreating into the past or embracing the challenges and opportunities of the future. The decision rests in the hands of the American people. The future of the nation hangs in the balance. The path America chooses will determine its destiny. The 2024 election is a pivotal moment in the nation's history.